With State of Origin Game 1 fast approaching, thought it would be a good opportunity to go through the team lists, maybe do a combined 17 that I'd pick between these two team lists, and give my predictions as well for the game. So let's crack on with the team list of New South Wales. Starting with the team list of the New South Wales Blues, in the backs it includes Dylan Edwards, Brian To'o, Stephen Crichton, Joseph Suaalii, Zac Lomax, Jarome Luai and Nicho Hynes. In the forwards is Jake Trbojevic, Reece Robson, Payne Haas, Liam Martin, Angus Crichton and Cameron McInnes. On the bench is Isaah Yeo, Haumole Olakau'atu, Spencer Leniu and Hudson Young, and the extended players include Matt Burton, Luke Keary and Mitchell Barnett. Taking a look at the team list now of the Queensland Maroons, in the backs includes Reece Walsh, Xavier Coates, Valentine Holmes, Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow, Taulagi, Tom Dearden and Daly Cherry-Evans. In the forwards is Reuben Cotter, Ben Hunt, Lindsay Collins, Jaydn Su'A, Jeremiah Nanai and Patrick Carrigan. On the bench is Harry Grant, Moeki Fotuaika, Jermaine Hopgood and Selwyn Cobbo, and the extended players include Felice Kafusi, Brendan Piakura and Ezra Mann. So to talk a little bit more about these players, I'll start with the New South Wales squad. There's a few things that I want to point out. I think that this team, first of all, has been built to keep play alive. Based on some of the additions in this team, I think that they're planning to get second phases and just keep moving the ball around as much as possible. One of the key examples of that is Edwards. Likes to keep play alive, likes to keep shifting. Sometimes will stop, change direction, a little bit like Luai as well. So Edwards and Luai, two players that play off the cuff a lot of the time for the Panthers. They're there to keep the play alive. I think Lomax is another example of that. He likes to move the ball around. Sometimes he's caught down a cul-de-sac, down that wing, and then tries to shift the ball back on the inside. Does it a lot more than other people, I would say. Payne Haas is another one, is able plenty of times to get his arms free, offload the ball, create that second phase. Another key example. I think Liam Martin is someone that likes to do that as well. So I think this New South Wales team is built on second phases and constantly moving the ball again and again and again and throwing that Queensland line out of shape. Another thing is, I think, is a good mix of experience and form. So there's a few key players in there based on experience. So Jarome Luai's played in this competition plenty of times, To'o and Crichton as well. Jake Trbojevic has been around the block for centuries at this point. Payne Haas has a lot of experience in this, and Liam Martin as well. Players like Isaah Yeo have been around for a long time as well. So in terms of additions, taking Edwards over Tedesco, I think for me personally I'd be fine with either. Tedesco's had a great season, but Dylan Edwards, I think it's about time, show what he can do, and we'll see what happens with that one. Joseph Suaalii, a great addition, could take conversions, might not, but could certainly take conversions, and I think has done a tremendous job, been very reliable for the Roosters, and especially the carries out of the backfield as well. He's done a great job with that. And I think Reece Robson had a decent game in Game 3 last year, and I think could set a decent platform going forwards. I think the likes of Jake Trbojevic and Payne Haas can put in those strong carries, and Reece Robson can build off the back of that and connect with Martin and Crichton on the edges. And Crichton's had a fantastic season with the Roosters. He hasn't played that many games so far this season, but the games he has played, he's looked really, really lively. A few things that I would probably say on this, in terms of players I would have started, Isaah Yeo would have started over McInnes. I would have started Olakau'atu over Martin personally, and I would have started Burton over Luai. They're just a few things personally I would have done. Just based on form, I think Isaah Yeo is the best 13 in the NRL. So having him on the bench, yes, he's a great impact player, so they might bring him on as a prop, maybe put him on the edge somewhere. But I don't know. I think I would have started Yeo. Of all the options there, I would have started Yeo. Olakau'atu, I think, could be an impact player off the bench, but there aren't too many big prop forwards or normal prop forwards that you'd associate with that position. But I do like the mix of experience and, new blood in there, because there are some decent players on some decent form, and one of the main points is Nicho Hynes. A lot of people say he's not a big game player. This is a great opportunity to see if he is or he isn't. I don't think the focus for Hynes is to carry, like we would expect maybe Nathan Cleary to do so. I think Hynes just fits in there nicely. I don't think he's under pressure to control the game. He will, that'll be his job probably, to take on the kicking game, obviously. But I don't think he's under pressure to lead absolutely everywhere. There are players in different positions that can do a great job individually. Edwards can take on a lot of that responsibility, so can Luai. So I don't think there's that much pressure on Nicho Hynes. I think he just fits into little gaps here and there, and I think should do a decent job for the Blues. Taking a closer look at the Queensland Maroons squad, I think having Reece Walsh in there, the best number one in the NRL for me, is always going to make your team significantly more dangerous. The way that he attacks the edges, when you give him just a little bit too much time to build up speed, he is incredibly dangerous. So the Blues need to make sure that their kicking game is on point, put him under as much pressure as possible, don't give him time to build up speed, don't give him the opportunity to spread the ball around or move himself towards the edges and attack the second rowers and the centres, because he will find gaps in that defence. Daly Cherry-Evans, his kicking game is going to be instrumental in this game as usual. That long-range kicking game is going to be massive. And another big step up for me, I've mentioned this guy a couple times in my predictions videos, but Patrick Carrigan. I think he's taken a huge step up in terms of his maturity. So he is sort of relied on a little bit for the carries through the middle and connecting the play from left to right and right to left. Great, that's what, locks in this day and age are expected to do at this point. But I think there's a different level of maturity being the captain at the Broncos and having to make decisions, get more involved in the play. I just get this sense that he's a much more mature player and fits even better into this Queensland team now. I mean, he would have been a great selection anyway, but I think just carries the weight of the world on his shoulders and just looks like a much more professional, much more mature and overall better player as well. So that's great from Patrick Carrigan. The way that I think this team has been built is basically to cover any major changes. It is a ridiculously built team. So for example, Reece Walsh has an injury. Selwyn Cobbo can go to fullback, even Tabuai-Fidow can go to fullback. But Selwyn Cobbo can fill fullback, centre and wing. Walsh could go into the halves if necessary. Ben Hunt could go into the halves for Harry Grant to take on the number 9 role. Fotuaik and Hopgood can play, or Hopgood especially, can play a few different positions in the forwards. So this team has been built extremely nicely to cover different positions. Reuben Cotter can play second rower and lock as well. Jeremiah Nanai could probably play lock. Patrick Carrigan could go prop if he needs to. So there's so many different iterations of this Queensland team. So it has been built like a proper Queensland team. I get the vibe of a Queensland team, but it is built in such a way that if there's a key injury, if there are major changes needed, they have players in areas to shift things around. So if there's any major injuries, I don't think Queensland will struggle to kind of plug that hole and find a decent replacement, because they can just shift everyone around into a different position. In terms of player changes, I think I would have preferred to see Cobbo start. So Cobbo on the right wing, Xavier Coates on the left wing for me over Taulagi, and then probably Mam over Dearden. I think just based on this season, Dearden's done a great job and is a fantastic player. I'm not completely heartbroken that Mam isn't playing, but I would have liked to have seen Mam starting, maybe get some game time in a future game in the series. And no Fafita, I think, is an interesting decision, but I'm sure Jaydn Su'A will do a decent job. Billy Slater has picked him for a reason, sees that he would fit into his plan, so, how can you not trust Billy Slater's decision? So how dare I question that? But to move towards a prediction now, I think the few things that really do this for me, first of all, I think this New South Wales team is built very nicely and will cause Queensland a lot of issues. So they will shift them all over the park and they will find gaps and exploit them. So New South Wales will put up plenty of points. The few things for me about Queensland is Reece Walsh, number 1, open up gaps left, right and centre. Carrigan through the middle and Daly Cherry-Evans with his kicking game. I think they all give the edge over New South Wales. And then if there are key changes, as I said, Queensland can then deal with that. So I think this will be a tricky Blues team to deal with, but I think the organisation of Queensland is just going to be enough in this game to carry them towards a win in this one. But with the way New South Wales is built, I wouldn't be surprised if they could get the job done. But I'm going to go with Queensland to win 1 to 12 points. Finally, to finish off this episode, I thought I'd do a quick combined 17. So all the players that have been picked as a specific number, I have to choose one or the other from New South Wales or Queensland. So who am I taking at number 1? Number 1, I'm taking Reece Walsh over Dylan Edwards. I think Edwards is a fantastic player, but for me, as I've said, Reece Walsh is the best number 1 in the NRL, possibly in the world, probably in the world. So yeah, I think Reece Walsh at number 1 makes sense. At number 2, it's either Xavier Coates or Brian I'm taking Xavier Coates. I think the clutch moments that he's had this season are just insane. Plus, I think given his height, so his aerial threat, I think defensively can sometimes be a little bit stronger. Toto is a fantastic finisher, but I think just based on this season, Xavier Coates for me. In the number 3 role, it's either Stephen Crichton or Valentine Holmes. This season, I'm taking Stephen Crichton. I think he's been one of those people that has helped to elevate the Bulldogs to a different level. The Bulldogs are still not a great team, but he is part of a slightly new culture, and you can tell that the Bulldogs are a different team for having him in there, and obviously a few others as well, but he's been very helpful in the leadership and culture change that the Bulldogs are trying to set. So Stephen Crichton at number 3. Number 4, that's between Joseph Suaalii and Hamiso Tabuai-Fidow. I'm taking Joseph Suaalii. I think Tabuai-Fidow has missed out a couple of games this season due to injury, and Suaalii has been absolutely rock solid for the Roosters. Great carries out the backfield, very reliable in the air, and yeah, his conversions as well. He's just been a fantastic player, set up a lot of opportunities, and is doing wonders for that Roosters team. Number 5 is between Zac Lomax and Murray Taulagi. This season, I'm taking Zac Lomax. He was one of the first names that I wanted to see on this Blues team list, and he's made it. I'm really happy for him because he has been a freak this season. He's done some incredible things. Some of the catches that he's made, I can't remember which game it was, but I think it was like Ben Hunt put a kick towards the in-goal area, and Zac Lomax just went above everyone to claim that ball. But there's some things on the wing that he's done where he's been an absolute freak. And yeah, I'd take him over Murray Taulagi this season. Talangi's an incredible player, but Zac Lomax for me this year, hands down. The number 6 role between Jarome Luai and Tom Dearden, I'm taking Jarome Luai. I have been critical of him because sometimes for the Panthers, he receives the ball from his right to his left and instantly steps back to the middle. I think without Nathan Cleary, he's had to step up a little bit, and I think given his experience in this arena, would be the better option between the two. I think Tom Dearden hasn't been perfect for me in the Cowboys team. They are struggling as a team a little bit, but Jarome Luai, based on his experience in this game, gets a lot of hate sometimes, but I think I would take him over Dearden as of right now. On to number 7, it's between Nicho Hynes and Daly Cherry-Evans. Daly Cherry-Evans for me at number 7. Nicho Hynes, I think, is a decent player. Can attack the edges quite well. Good kicking game. But a big game player, Daly Cherry-Evans, you just can't not have him in the team, very simply, for me. And that rounds out the backs for my combined 17. But taking a look at the forwards now. The number 8 positions is between Jake Trbojevic and Reuben Cotter. I'm taking Reuben Cotter. I think because of his versatility, can play prop, can play second rower, can play on the edge. I saw somebody say he could play hooker or something like that. And I'm sure I've seen him do it before. Like he's taken on those responsibilities a little bit at times. So he could play a bunch of different positions in the forwards. And I think just based on his versatility and how much work rate he gets through in a game, yeah, Reuben Cotter is the number 8 for me. Number 9 is between Ben Hunt and Reece Robson. I'm taking Ben Hunt. Again, he can also play in the halves as well, so he's there for versatility. If Daly Cherry-Evans goes out, Ben Hunt steps right up and, yeah, takes on that number 7 role extremely well, like he does for the Dragons, carrying that team forward. Number 10 is between Payne Haas and Lindsay Collins. I think Lindsay Collins is a hell of a veteran, but Payne Haas is the best prop in the world for me, very simply. So for me, there's no question. The production he gets through, the amount of carries, the post-contact meters, the offloads, the handling, the footwork, everything, Payne Haas is the best prop in the league for me. Number 11, Liam Martin and Jaydn Su'A. I'm taking Liam Martin on this one. I think Su'A's had a really good season so far, but Liam Martin, based on everything, all the versatility that he's got in his game, for me, is just the better option in this one. Number 12 is between Jeremiah Nanai and Angus Crichton. I'm taking Jeremiah Nanai on this one. I think Angus Crichton, I hate to not include because he's been so good for the Roosters since he's come back in. But Jeremiah Nanai this season is the joint top try scorer and is just constantly creating opportunities by himself. You know, he's not the biggest of forwards, but he's got some height to him, and he's got some good footwork, good handling, he's an intelligent player, and is an absolute menace down the edges. And to finish out the starting 13, it is between Patrick Carrigan and Cameron McInnes. I'm taking Patrick Carrigan. I think he's the second best lock in the NRL, behind Isaah Yeo. So if Isaah Yeo was starting, it would be Yeo in that 13 spot. But as I said, Patrick Carrigan, his maturity has gone up massively this season, and he's taken on a lot more responsibility, and is he going to be a key part of this Queensland Maroons team. But going on to the bench now, I've decided to kind of mix up the bench rather than going to the 14, 15, 16, 17. I'm going to mix up the bench with who I like. So as the hooker off the bench, I'm going to take Harry Grant. Bold decision for New South Wales not to take like a recognised second hooker or a recognised starting hooker. Interesting one, but I'm taking Harry Grant as my 14. As my 15, I'm taking Isaah Yeo. He can play prop forward if need be, but best lock in the game. So I think he needs to be there for versatility. Haumole Olakau'atu could also play prop if needed, but if if the Edges need a slight injection of ruthlessness, then Haumole Olakau'atu is available. And to cover versatility in the backs, I'd take Selwyn Cobbo at 17. So my combined 17 between New South Wales and Queensland is as follows. In the backs, I'm taking Reece Walsh, Xavier Coates, Stephen Crichton, Joseph Suaalii, Zac Lomax, Jarome Luai, and Daly Cherry-Evans. In the forwards, I'd take Reuben Cotter, Ben Hunt, Payne Haas, Liam Martin, Jeremiah Nanai, and Patrick Carrigan. And on the bench, I'd take Harry Grant, Isaah Yeo, Haumole Olakau'atu, and Selwyn Cobbo. So that's going to be it for this video. If you have any thoughts on the New South Wales Blues team or the Queensland Maroons team, do let me know in the comments down below. Also, let me know your predictions. How do you think this game will go? Who do you think is going to win? What do you think the margin will be? And do you have your own combined 17? Are there some changes that you'd want to see to the combined 17 that I put together, or to just the general squads that were announced? Do let me know in the comments down below. But as always, thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time.